I, 25 male, have been dating my best friend and love of my life, Sophia, 25, for the past 5 years. My parents and sister, 22, have met Sophia multiple times before, and they're pretty nice to her. My family hosted a New Year's Eve party for friends and extended family a few days ago. I decided to propose to Sophia at the party, and hence I sought permission from her parents first. My parents and sister were surprised to see Sophia in a wheelchair at the party. Due to an unfortunate car accident that occurred 2 months ago, Sophia can't walk. We're trying physical therapy to help her get better. Although my family was aware that she suffered injury from the accident, they didn't know the extent. I quickly introduced Sophia to my aunt and cousins, and they were all very friendly. After a while, I said I needed to make an announcement. So I said my speech and got down on one knee, proposing to Sophia. Sophia said yes, and everyone clapped and cheered. I was ecstatic and thrilled and enjoyed the rest of the party. Towards the end of the party, I found Sophia crying in a corner. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that my sister had talked to her, convincing her to break up with me because she didn't want me to marry a disabled woman. I was extremely disturbed and furious by this, and I went with Sophia up to my sister and angrily told her that I loved Sophia and she had no right to interfere in my love life, and that I wanted her to respect Sophia and treat her nicely. My parents were surprised because I'm usually a calm and collected person. My sister started crying in front of everyone, saying that I was accusing her of being rude. After that happened, I hadn't talked to my sister in days. I've been celebrating my engagement with Sophia's family. My sister called me today saying that her boyfriend, who was present at the New Year's Eve party, dumped her for crying in public and how Sophia basically ruined her life. I said that her getting dumped has nothing to do with Sophia and that if she'd acted respectfully, none of this would have happened. My parents say that although my sister could have been rude, I shouldn't have humiliated her in front of everyone. Am I the idiot? I, 28 female, have been dating my fiancé Ryan, 36 male, for 3 years. We've been living together for 1 year and have been engaged for 8 months. I'm currently 6 months pregnant. Ryan has a 6-year-old son, James, from his previous marriage, and he and his ex share custody for James. James stays with his father, and me since I moved in, for 1 week, then spends a week with his mother and her husband and so on. James is a sweet little boy and we have a wonderful relationship. He knows that I'm not his mother and I will never try to take her place. But so far, living together has worked quite well. So last Saturday I was home with James while Ryan was at work and James was taking a nap in his room while I was watching a movie in our bedroom. James came to me and asked if he could climb to bed with me, as he had had a nightmare and was afraid to stay alone in his room. So I said sure. He climbed on his father's side of the bed and fell asleep 5 minutes later. Ryan came home an hour later and found us both sleeping on the bed with the 2 dogs and thought it was adorable, so he took a picture. Fast forward a couple of days, James's mom comes to pick him up from our house and asks him to go to the car so she can speak with us. She proceeds to tell us how inappropriate it was for me to let a young boy in the bed and cuddle with him while he was sleeping, which we didn't, when none of his parents were home. Apparently, Ryan's sister showed her the photo thinking she would be happy that her son and I had a friendly relationship. Husband sent it to a group chat with his mother and sister, who is an old friend of his ex-wife's, and showed it to her when they met. Ex also said that she and her husband find how touchy I am with James inappropriate and that they'll even consider applying for full custody. I don't know if they will, but I'm literally shaking. James is obsessed with my baby bump. He's generally a very cuddly child, but lately he wants to put his little head on my belly for hours and listen to his baby sister. I love kids and I would never refuse to hug my soon-to-be stepson. It never crossed my mind that this could be considered inappropriate. I used to teach and my students would hug me all the time and none of their parents seemed to mind. The rest of the family is on our side, but I wanted an unbiased opinion. So, am I the idiot for letting my stepson into our bed and occasionally hugging him and being affectionate with him? I, 28 male, am gay and my parents disowned me. I haven't spoken to them in 8 years. However, I'm still close with my sister, 34, and her young daughter. My sister still has a relationship with our parents. Every year, my parents host a big Christmas gathering. I'm never invited, but my sister and niece always go. Then, a day or 2 later, we do a smaller Christmas with just me, my sister, and my niece. While my sister was in the other room at our smaller Christmas gathering, my niece asked why I never go to my parents' Christmas. I replied with the excuse I've used for years: I had to work. My niece said that my reason didn't make sense because sometimes the big gathering happens on Christmas when I have the day off. She was getting upset and asked, "Do you not like to be with us?" If she hadn't said that, I probably wouldn't have told her, but I can't stand the idea that she would think I chose not to go to the Christmas. So, in a calm voice, I said, Well, you know how I date boys instead of girls? Grandma and Grandpa don't like that, so they asked me not to go to Christmas. My niece was upset by this. The next day she called her grandparents and asked how they dared tell me not to come to Christmas. Apparently, she was really harsh with them. Then my parents called my sister and yelled at her for letting my niece around me. My sister confronted me and said I was an idiot for causing the family fight and for involving my niece in it. I feel really bad, and I didn't expect my niece to call them and cause a conflict. So I wanted to know, am I the idiot? I have a stepdaughter, Rose, and a bio daughter, Lily. Lily's dad is in the picture. Rose's mom is somewhat in the picture, but unfortunately is an addict and has some mental health issues and will not be at the wedding and could only see her occasionally with supervision growing up. Rose never really accepted me, and that's okay, we didn't push her. I don't dislike Rose or anything, but there isn't much of a relationship. Rose and Lily dislike each other, but are civil. Lily got married a year ago, and my husband and I gave her a certain amount of money, and her dad gave her the same. We had the same amount set aside for Rose, but that does mean Rose would get half of what Lily got. Also, Rose knows what Lily got in total because it was brought up in front of her, which I know was a mistake, but she stayed with us for like a week waiting for her house to be ready, and it seemed weird to kick her out of the room. Anyway, we told Rose recently what we'd be contributing, and she made a face. My husband said he knows it's half of what Lily got, but Lily's dad paid the other half. Rose said it was fine, and then said we could keep it a couple of minutes later. My husband told her no, she could take it, and if she wanted to pay, she could pay what it doesn't cover. Rose got annoyed and said she didn't want it and to leave her alone. Rose will not talk about it and is mostly ignoring us. Rose said she's paying for it herself, but I heard from someone the groom's mother is now paying and said she'd top what Lily got. The last time we saw Rose, my husband tried to talk about it again, but her fiancé snapped at us to leave her alone, and he made enough money to buy whatever she wanted. My husband is beside himself and asked if I consider doubling the money to make it even. I said no. We could do it, but it would be a huge amount to us and more than I'm willing to spend. It does suck, but at the end of the day, life isn't fair, and Rosie and Lily have two different situations. My husband is annoyed and says I'm being cold, but he gets that it is our money and I'm standing on firm no. Am I the idiot? My wife and I have 2 kids together. She has a son from a previous relationship. His dad isn't in his life, so he's with us all the time. And I have a daughter from an earlier relationship. My ex is tough to co-parent with, and unfortunately I only have my daughter every other weekend and 1 day a week. I used to coach her team because it gives me more time with her, but she's too talented to be coached by dad, so I'm fighting to change this, to get more time. My daughter, young teen, has expressed to me that she's hurt that I spend more time with my 2 younger kids and my stepson, Team, more than her, and I'm doing my very best to let her know that she's not loved any less, and if I had my way I would get to see her way more. My wife and I want to travel with the kids, and my ex has made it very difficult and consistently refuses to allow my daughter to go. She needs permission from both parents to leave the state, so unfortunately there's nothing I can do at the moment. My wife thinks that the other 3 shouldn't be held back because of my daughter. I agree that the others shouldn't be held back, and I don't want them to resent my daughter if we don't travel because of her. However, I'm not comfortable going on these trips if she's not there. I gave my wife my blessing to travel with my stepson and 2 younger kids, but told her that I couldn't join her because I didn't want to hurt my daughter more. I told her we could travel in the state as a family, but until she's 18, I don't feel comfortable going to places without her. My wife is angry with me and says she doesn't want to travel alone with the 3 kids, and I'm a bad husband and father for not going. I told her that I understand her feelings and that we could pay for her mother or someone else to go with them if she felt like it was overwhelming. We got into a really big fight, and I ended up telling her that I was looking out for the well-being of all 4 kids, but she's only looking out for her 3. She told me that I'm an idiot for not going on the trip, and accusing her of not loving my daughter. I didn't accuse her of this, I just said she's not thinking about my daughter's feelings in this instance. So, am I the idiot for not going on a trip without my daughter? I've been living with my girlfriend for the past 6 months. We're both in our early 20s and have an overall great relationship. Before our relationship began, I was a big fast food eater. An intersection in my city hosts 7 different fast food restaurants, and I'll frequent basically all of them. Since I do shift work, I'm generally off the clock at around 11 a.m, and then being too tired to cook, I'll hit up a burger joint for a cheeseburger and some fries. My girlfriend always wants to have exactly 1 bite of every item I order, exclusively the first bite. When I noticed this, I would start by contacting her on my way to the restaurant, asking if she wanted something. Her answer was a consistent no. But when I get home and dig in, the crinkling of a fast food bag is like Pavlov's bell to her. She'll immediately beeline straight for wherever I'm eating and ask if she can have a bite. I've asked if I could leave a little at the end, but no, she wants the first bite. I've pleaded with her to just let me buy her food, but no, she doesn't want to eat that much. I've tried ordering a bit more and letting her polish off the whole burger, but no, she'll turn every item into a sampler platter and then throw away the food I bought for her after the first bite if I don't eat it. I don't like it. I don't like this bizarre culinary version of Primi Noctis. For the past few weeks, I've been eating in my car and discreetly disposing of the wrappers. I was just telling her I wasn't hungry after work, but the other day she found a garbage bag full of fast food wrappers in her bin on garbage day, and she's furious at me for lying to her. Am I the idiot for not sharing with her?
Hi guys, thank you for watching. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to see more great videos. See you again.